Hi guys, so the EU has made a massive shift in its thinking and policy over Ukraine. The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, told the media that for the first time in the European Union's history, it would no longer limit its support to defensive material like body armor and helmets and funding, but would actually provide offensive weapons. This may seem a no-brainer, but this is a massive change for the European Union. Let's hear what von der Leyen had to say.
For their country, the European Union steps up once more its support for Ukraine and the sanctions against the aggressor that is Putin's Russia. For the first time ever, the European Union will finance the purchase and delivery of weapons and other equipment to a country that is under attack. This is a watershed moment. HRVP Borrell will present to you the proposal in a few minutes. At the same time, we're strengthening once more our sanctions against the Kremlin and its collaborator, Lukashenko's regime. First, we are shutting down the EU airspace for Russians. We're proposing a prohibition on all Russian-owned, Russian-registered and Russian-controlled aircraft. These aircraft will no more be able to land in, take off, or overfly the territory of the European Union. This will apply to any plane, owned, chartered, or otherwise controlled by a Russian legal or natural person. So let me be very clear. Our airspace will be closed to every Russian plane, and that includes the private jets of oligarchs too. Second, in another unprecedented step, we will ban in the European Union the Kremlin's media machine. The state-owned Russia Today and Sputnik, as well as their subsidiaries, will no longer be able to spread their lies to justify Putin's war and to sow division in our union. So we are developing tools to ban that toxic and harmful disinformation in Europe. And third, we will target the other aggressor of this war, Lukashenko's regime. Lukashenko's regime is complicit in the vicious attack against Ukraine. So we will hit Lukashenko's regime with a new package of sanctions. We will introduce restrictive measures against their most important sectors. This will stop their exports of products from mineral fuels to tobacco, wood and timber, cement, iron and steel.
So there's a lot to talk about here. Now, I want to focus first of all on the media, how the European Union are going to crack down on Russian outlets, like she said here, Russia Today and Sputnik and their subsidiaries. This is extremely interesting, and it's going to be interesting how pundits respond to this, and also how the UK government is going to respond to this, because of course the UK is no longer a member of the European Union, so it doesn't have to follow this guidance or this rule, but of course Sputnik and Russia Today are operating in the UK, so it's going to be interesting to see how Boris Johnson and his government respond to that. I would hope that they would follow suit. Now, I think the bigger issue here, of course, is how the European Union are going to provide military hardware, weapons to Ukraine. And this is a complete shift. Now, Putin, I believe, thought he'd get away with it. He looked back at 2014, the invasion of Crimea, and he did get away with it. The West was divided. The West did not respond in a robust way, and he suffered very few consequences for that. And I think that was his objective here as well. Get into Ukraine, put in a puppet government, get out again, and the West will be confused and they will not be able to respond. The response has been unprecedented. We have the European Union changing its rules, fundamental rules now. These are fundamental changes within the European Union, the idea that they're going to provide military hardware. This has always been a peace project, bringing countries of Europe that used to be enemies, bringing them together in a peaceful way. And the ethos of the European Union has always been anti-war. This is a massive change here. That's why, people have criticized it sending helmets and body armor and things like that when weapons were required. And individual countries, of course, were sending their weapons. But Putin really has changed the game here. And of course, it's all blowing up in his face. Now, so many things have changed. In the last week, we have Sweden and Finland asking to join NATO. Sweden, for example, a country that's extremely peaceful. We have Germany and the Green Party in Germany supporting more spending on the military. Germany has, since Second World War, has been reducing its military spending. Of course, the two parts are different, but the East and West have had different military budgets. But generally, the idea over the last number of decades has been to reduce military spending because the Cold War was over. That has completely changed, with Germany planning to spend 100 billion euros on their military. Everything that Putin expected to happen, the opposite has happened. He has not divided Europe, he has united Europe. He hasn't divided NATO, he's strengthened NATO. And I think even more than that, he has increased support for NATO within NATO countries and non-NATO countries. So, there are people who are extremely critical of NATO. Those voices have pretty much disappeared. They still exist, but they have pretty much disappeared. And countries that were critical of NATO want to join it now because they see it as a way to protect their borders. So I think it's interesting, and it's more than interesting, the idea that the European Union is shifting on this particular policy. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.